Hi guys, so today we're talking about the environmental movement. This should actually be a fairly fast one and not due to me talking so quickly. It should just be fast because it's pretty succinct, it's pretty to the point. Okay, so first we have OPEC. OPEC stands for Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries. So 1970s, United States as well as other countries are heavily dependent on oil imports from the Persian Gulf, so Middle Eastern countries. American and European countries have discovered and developed oil in the early 20th century. And these countries in the Persian Gulf and the Middle East are going to create a profit sharing agreement to pretty much agree to how much they're going to be selling oil for to help each other out because they could undersell and undercut their competition. But this company, this organization, if you will, is going to help each other out so that they aren't doing that. So OPEC is formed in 1960. It is going to include countries in the Middle East. Saudi Arabia is going to be the most oil producing country within OPEC. So conflict in the Middle East between 1967 and 1973. There's going to be conflict between Israel and its Arab neighbors of Egypt, Syria, and Jordan. And then in 1973, there's going to be the Yom Kippur War. Egypt and Syria are going to invade Israel. Israel is going to win with aid from the United States. OPEC then, I didn't change the slide. Whoops. OPEC then is going to declare an oil embargo in October of 1973, which is going to cripple the United States with anything that has to do with oil and gasoline. So Congress is going to create speed limit to try to conserve fuel, and gas guzzler sales are going to fall, and the sales of small cars is going to increase. So cars like Toyotas, Volkswagens, Nissans, but this time it's Datsuns or whatever, is going to be increasing. The price of oil is going to, gasoline that is going to quadruple. People would have days on which they would be able to buy gasoline. And so depending on like the number of your license plate would depend on when you would be able to buy gasoline. And even then, as you saw from that picture, like there'd be long lines to get gasoline. And it was tough times all around, very tough times. If you have a family member that was alive during that time frame, they can probably attest to the fact of what wild times it was. Okay, environmentalism. This is going to grow out of the 1960s activism. It's going to grow on the precedents of preservationism, conservationism, and the wilderness movements of the 19th century, the conservation of the New Deal, the anxiety about nuclear technology and overpopulation. And their main focus is trying to ensure a healthy environment and access to unspoiled nature. Rachel Carson is more or less going to be the catalyst for the environmental movement in the 1970s, which then grows into the modern environmental movement that we know today, which focuses on the idea of global warming and fighting climate change. But Rachel Carson is going to write this book called Silent Spring. We published in 1962. And in there, she's going to analyze the effects and use of this pesticide called DDT. DDT is now outlawed. You can no longer use DDT. But back in the day, you could. And it had very harmful effects on humans and animals. Very notably, it thinned the shells on eagle eggs so that it was causing a decline in bald eagle populations, and people were outraged. And so DDT became outlawed. So you're also going to see Sierra Club, which was founded by John Muir, but is going to continue and grow over time, is going to fight two dams being built to flood the Grand Canyon. That almost happened. They almost decided to build dams to flood the Grand Canyon, which, man, what a bad thing that would have been. And then in 1969, an offshore drilling rig is going to spill millions of gallons off the coast of Santa Barbara. And then the Cuyahoga River near Cleveland is going to burst into flames because of accumulated flammable chemicals on its surface. And Friends of the Everglades will oppose an airport being built in Florida because it threatened the plants and wildlife there. So you're seeing a lot of movement and push towards trying to preserve and clean up wildlife and nature and the earth. This mass movement is going to lead to the first Earth Day, April 22nd, 1970, where 20 million citizens will gather across the world to support for cleaner and healthier planet. And this is the second biggest protest in U.S. history, actually. The first biggest being Black Lives Matter, second biggest being Earth Day in 1970. Just a fun little tidbit for you. All right, the Environmental Protection Agency, the EPA. is going to be created in 1970. It is going to create a series of new laws: Clean Air Act, Occupational Health and Safety Act, OSHA. If you've ever been in a workplace and there's certain like safety regulations, OSHA would be it. Water Pollution Control Act, Endangered Species Act. So it's going to be a lot of different legislation that is going to try to work on protecting Mother Earth. This is going to create a lot of building upon of the environmental movement, and trying to create oversight to how we utilize our natural resources. Okay, so next we have controversy over nuclear power. So nuclear power is going to start getting used after World War II. After the use of the atomic bombs, they're going to be able to then work on harnessing nuclear power to use for electrical power. By 1974, there are 42 nuclear power plants in the United States, with 100 more planned. And given the oil crisis starting in the 1970s, that they feel like nuclear power is the way to go, that, we don't need oil for this. It's not causing air pollution, but people are worried about the fact that a nuclear meltdown would be catastrophic, right? That would dump radioactive waste for hundreds of years to last, and the implications of it. And those fears are going to be seen and recognized in a very immense way with 3 Mile Island. This picture shouldn't be here for 3 Mile Island, but we're here. It's fine. So 3 Mile Island's going to happen March 1979. And this is going to be a nuclear power plant that is near Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. A reactor core came close to having a meltdown, but you're going to see 100,000 people are going to flee their homes in response to the possibility of a meltdown. A prompt shutdown is going to save the plant, avoid a meltdown happening, but it was a very near catastrophe. And people are going to be very worried about nuclear power plants and everything that it entails. So environmentalists are going to win this fight, and no new nuclear power plants are going to be authorized. There were a couple that had already been in the works, and so there are going to be a few that are built after 1979. But anything that is still around today happened before 1979 is when it was created and put into place. Today, nuclear power plants account for 20% of power generation in the United States, which is less than some countries in Europe, but we're still fourth in the world for our use of nuclear power to provide electricity. So that is everything I have to say about environmentalism. I promise it would be short and sweet. So if you have questions, please do not hesitate to come see me or